what happened was I sat up from my laid position and I saw this guy in front of me, and I won't say his name, but I saw this little demon pop out of him.
Mhm,
That's the word I'll use. And I ripped the demon and I tried to kill the demon for him.
mhm.
And then this message came to me and was like, you can't kill the demon, you have to give it love. So I sort of took this little demon, I started giving it love, and then the demon was on me and then it went away. But what it taught me was that all that healing really is giving love to somebody else's demon. So it's not necessarily like a, lizard looking being or whatever you think of
Mhm.
when you look at a demon, but if we just give presence, time, and sort of, I guess love is the word I like to use, to what people are going through their own demons, they're not our demons, so we can see them from a different angle. We can start moving people in a more positive light.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to another episode of I Love Being Sober, sponsored by Camelback Recovery, Arizona's preferred mental health and addiction treatment option to help newcomers on their path to recovery. If that's you or someone you know, then you're in the right place. Because my name is Tim Westbrook, and I'm the CEO and founder of Camelback Recovery here in the always sunny and always sober Phoenix, Arizona, where my team and I, over the course of many years, have helped thousands of people to stop their suffering and continue on their path to recovery. Today, I'm here with Jordan Bokser. We're going to talk about humility around your darkness. Jordan started his practice from the necessary work he did for himself. He wanted to give others the support he himself needed to get through his own difficulties and find happiness and success. He began by offering individual counseling and coaching to people who were interested in changing their lives or improving their current situation. His work has evolved into a wider range of services such as life strategy sessions, retreats, or breathwork sessions, and his services are uniquely tailored to each individual. Jordan's approach is holistic, considering all aspects of human life: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and even financial. Jordan feels that true happiness comes from the whole person, not just the parts. That's why he doesn't just help with the surface issues, but delves deeper into each person's unique situation. His goal is to help clients achieve true happiness and success in their lives. His success story can encourage anyone who is looking for direction in their life to take their first step towards greatness. Jordan, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. So,
That was a
so
long
we're gonna
bio.
we're gonna dive right into it. So, first question: what gives you the right to claim you are an expert on counseling and coaching people to achieve happiness and success?
So, can I say it in a story?
Of course.
Okay, so I was in a group meditation, and we were actually going through this type of breath work that, to me, actually gave me a psychedelic level effect. I don't take any substances anymore at all.
Mhm.
But what happened was I sat up from my laid position and I saw this guy in front of me, and I won't say his name, but I saw this little demon pop out of him.
Mhm.
That's the word I'll use. And I ripped the demon and I tried to kill the demon for him.
Mhm.
And then this message came to me and was like, you can't kill the demon, you have to give it love. So I sort of took this little demon, I started giving it love, and then the demon was on me and then it went away. But what it taught me was that all that healing really is giving love to somebody else's demon. So it's not necessarily like a, lizard looking being or whatever you think
Mhm.
of when you look at a demon, but if we just give presence, time, and sort of, I guess love is the word I like to use, to what people are going through their own demons, they're not our demons, so we can see them from a different angle. We can start moving people in a more positive light. So I don't know if that answers your question on why I'm an authority. I think everyone can be an authority on it. I think if you just give time and presence and connection to people, it's amazing how individuals will start shifting in the right direction.
You know Michael Burnoff?
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to his Core Live event, and one of the things he talks about is positions and perspectives. Okay, so there's me, my perspective. Okay, there's me, you, and most of the time, people like I'm going to think about me, 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 me. I don't think
Mhm.
about you. I don't think about your reaction. I don't think like I'm concerned with me. I just care about me and how I'm showing. That's all I care about. And then so that's one perspective. The other perspective is your perspective. So me taking myself out of myself, going into you. So what are you experiencing as a result of looking at me? My facial expressions, my words,
Mhm.
my body language, my tone. Okay, so that's another perspective. The other perspective is being the observer. So being the observer means that I'm the observer is looking at me, my body language, my words, my facial expressions, and your facial expressions, your body language, your everything. And that's and I think about that. And so I try to put myself in that situation or from that perspective now anytime I'm in a room with other people. And I found it to be really effective. And I kind of, that's kind of what I'm hearing you say is that you want to put yourself in another person's shoes.
Yeah, and so like when I work with people, I always try to be as objective as I can and take my own bias out of it. But sort of one movie I make everybody watch or documentary is called Going Home. Have you seen that with Ram Dass?
I have not.
So, are you familiar with Ram Dass? I guess people
Oh
who aren't
yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was a great spiritual teacher. He was known to have this amazing voice, and then he had a stroke, and the voice got taken from him. And then I tell people to go watch this documentary because it shows you how he looks at what the stroke was. He's like, "Oh, it's bringing me closer to home. It's bringing me closer to God. I'm going home."
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, how do other people react when they get a stroke? And why I tell people to watch that is like there's no clear, I guess, message showing you that everything's an internal game,
Mm-hmm.
and two people can have the same scenario and have completely different responses, but why? And that's what I like to go in with people.
Right.
So yeah, you have to almost be the observer. Then I have my own perspective. They have a perspective. And how do we come to this like, and it's not, doesn't ever happens overnight, but just slowly move people to a more pure truth, whatever that is, one without all the subconscious noise or the lens that they're sort of viewing life through.
Right.
So I don't know if that's fully related to what you said, but I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer?
No, but I read his surrender process. That's or experiment. That's one of my favorite books.
Okay, I'm in the process of listening to that on audio right now, The Untethered
Hmm.
Soul, and there's a chapter on happiness. And the question he asks, he says, normally you ask somebody, "Hey, do you want to be happy?" And people say yes, but it's really not an unconditional yes. People say yes, I want to be happy, but I had a stroke. I want to
Hmm.
be happy, but my
Hmm.
wife left me. I want to be happy, but I don't have a lot of money in the bank. I want to be happy, but I want a different job. And it's like, no, no, no. That's not the question. The question is, do you want to be happy? And most people have a conditional that it's like it's conditional. It's like, yeah, I'll be happy if I get what I want. I'll be happy if I don't have a stroke.
It's because I think we attach the idea that the outcome will bring us to where we want to be.
Totally.
But you're right. If you ask people, hey, listen, don't worry about how it looks. If I can give you this emotion, will you take it?
Right. It's like,
No, I
yeah,
don't. But
if
eh,
you got
am
what?
I going to get the Ferrari in the driveway, or am I stuck in a Honda Civic?
Right.
So, there's this guy Roberto, and I tell people about him. To me, he's the richest man I've ever met. So
Okay.
he lives in Panama. He lives on an organic farm. He has him and his lover, and like,
Mhm.
she's an amazing woman. He probably owns like 4 or 5 shirts. Who knows? Like, he has enough power
Right.
through his solar to charge his phone, and like literally like this like fan. Happiest guy I've ever met. Like just pure like joy, perfect posture. But if you told people, hey, I'm going to give you that situation, a lot of them be like, well, wait, I don't. Where's my air conditioning? Where you mean I got to farm for my own food? And it's
Right.
like he's basically won at life because he found for him the keys to his happiness and didn't really worry what society or other people tell you. And that's sort of why I think working with the subconscious is so important, because some people don't even know what happiness really means to them. They're looking at it through a lens of, well, I learned this, this, and this. That must be what happiness is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm only going to be happy if I have this traditional type life. And they
Right.
don't take the time to think about what actually makes them feel expansive versus contracted.
Right. Being in an expansionary state is always the way. And people get caught thinking that their life they should have different than what they have. And so they're in a contractionary state.
Well, I think if you ask most people, are you expansive are you in an expansive state or a contraction state or contractatory, whatever the proper word is?
Right.
What are you? They're like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't. So when I start working with people, part of my own personal mantra at business is, or in my coaching business, I actually only want to work with people for a limited amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get them to a place where they're able to make really strong decisions that are aligned with them. So teaching people to actually feel that, like, what does it mean to be expansive?
Right.
And then seeing the layers or seeing these thoughts that block them from feeling that. Because the average person, we don't get taught that in school. We're never taught, like, hey, oh, you want to open a lemonade stand? That feels good to you? Like, no, we don't say that. It's like, is this a good business move, or
Right.
are you going to be able to provide for your family? Like, we don't bring us into that state of expansiveness often.
In your opinion, does someone need to know their values in order to know if they're in an expansive or a contractionary state?
Mm-hmm. It's one of the first things I like to work with people is, what are your true values?
Right.
And what's funny is when you are not funny, but it's interesting. People can say they have a value because they think it sounds good. And then when you test them and truly, like, I do either muscle testing or whatever form, a different type of test. But like, when you start testing them on it, you realize it's actually not a value.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do something called, I'll do like a value. It could take 2-3 hours to actually figure out what your real values are. Because we have our ego that wants to be like, oh, this should be a value because it sounds virtuous, but you don't actually care about it. And then you're putting something to the side because you think it might sound bad, but that's actually really important to you.
Right. It's like, okay, these are my values. And I just went through a trauma intensive a few weeks ago. And we went through and we looked at our values. And it's like, okay, what are my top 10 values? What are my top 10 values? Which ones can I group together? And then, okay, these are my top 3 values. Now, am I living according to my values?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way to really test. Like,
mm-hmm.
Okay, these are my values, or to your point, what I think my values should be, or what I think sounds good, or am I truly living according to my values? If I'm truly living according to these values, then okay, those are my values.
Yeah. And again, how many of us in school get taught what are your values in life? So it's like, I think we're in a different space where we put self-development as like the forefront of our life.
Mm-hmm.
But when you speak to the average person, this is not even a thought. What are my personal values?
Right.
Like, people don't put the attention to it.
No, to your point, it's not taught in school. It's like they have to have somebody teach them to figure out what their values are.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a powerful exercise. And it's like, am I living according to my values? Okay, so tell me about the Hardy method. What is the Hardy method?
So, long or short explanation, quick to the point.
Whatever you think. I mean, it's an open-ended question. So the Hardy
So,
method is your method.
mm-hmm.
So I want you to tell me about it. And
okay, so I'll give a little history of how it came to be. I got really sick back when I was like 23, 24. So I used to train. I thought I was going to be an MMA fighter. So I was training, 3-4 hours a night. Plus, I had a full-time job as an intern in a finance office, and I was going to school, and I had a bartending job on the weekends. I had energy to do it all.
okay.
And then I went away for my mom's 50th birthday, and on the way back, we went to a cruise. I got super sick, like really sick, and no one had an answer for me in the traditional system. So like, I went to a medical doctor. We don't know what's going on with you. Blood test after blood test. I think I went 52 times in a year, like once a week, trying to get better.
Okay.
And then I luckily found a naturopath who gave me this number to an acupuncturist, and I started doing acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and then my body got like 70% better. And that shifted me to wanting to get into natural health. So fast forward a little bit, and I had this idea for a blog called The Hardy Gentleman, which was to teach men to be heart-focused men, but also take care of all aspects of their life. And I didn't know what Hardy stood for. I just liked the name.
Okay.
And at that point, I was learning Tantra and Reiki and natural health, and I was sort of all into this stuff. And then I had a podcast called The Hardy Gentleman.
Okay.
And then I had my traumatic event, which was a very bad ayahuasca journey that derailed me.
Okay.
So I was taking ayahuasca to try to, I was never really a big substance user, but I took it to be like, okay, this can help align me. And I became disassociated for a good 2 years. And
wow,
what happened was that I ended up investing like $100,000, if not more, trying to get back on track.
Why do you think you had a trip that caused you to be disassociated for 2 years? Because I've never heard that happen to anybody before.
And it was on and off. Like, it wasn't a straight 2 years, but it was there always underneath the surface. I went in asking for the secret of the universe.
Okay.
And ayahuasca was like, you're a dumb human. I'm not going to tell you. And I was like, no, I really want to know. She's like, you can't handle the truth. We had a whole conversation. And then when I came back, I had no idea how to process reality anymore, because what got shoved in my face, and again, this sort of plays to the Hardy method, was this idea that we really do make our own reality. And it's very easy to say it, but then when you're actually experiencing it, because you've had such a big reset like I did, you have a hard time feeling safe. So when I went through this healing journey, I went to Satguru and Eckhart Tolle, and I had a coach called Lees and another coach called Marta and Mantak Chia, and I went searching for answers. And then what hit me one day was what Hardy stood for. And it's really how I got back on track, and I was able to get my life moving in a good direction. So the H stands for heart focus, the E stands for ecstatic, the A stands for action based, the R stands for resiliency, the T is truthfulness, and the Y is youthfulness. And it was like, if you live in these principles, you're going to have a very fulfilling life. And I saw visions and flashes, like when it got downloaded to me, of like all these amazing mentors I've had in my life, and they really do live those principles.
Right.
And then it was like, well, how do you get to become Hardy? It was all that work I did over the 2 years to get back to being me. So it was like, it all sort of fit perfectly. But back when I thought of like the Hardy Gentleman, I had no idea what Hardy meant. And then it sounds so simple, this like idea. And like, really, it was just working in those principles and helping people get aligned with that they start to feel better in their day to day. They're more grateful. Things open up for them they can never really, ever imagine, because they're like building in a space of expansiveness. So yeah, that's sort of the long and short story of how the Hardy method came. So I turned like, again, so the humility around your darkness, like that darkest moment is the reason why I was able to get to this place now and sort of try to not necessarily like, you're not like leading them, but guiding them in a way, the way that I was guided to get through my darkness.
Right. So do you think that if you were in a different place emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that you may not have had a bad trip?
Yeah. I had a delusion of, I thought I was like a happy-go-lucky person. I've never been depressed in my life.
Right.
I was exposed to, I worked in nightclubs when I was really young. So it was like, I never really got into the party scene. I thought I had everything all together, but I had the ADD mind that would distract me anytime I tried to go deep into anything.
Okay.
And then it was easy to run away and sort of push things down. And I could justify, even though I'm not in alignment with this, I'll do it anyways, and like push down that feeling of why it's not in alignment.
Right.
And then when I think you do a substance like that or a medicine like that, or I don't know if you've done ayahuasca or you visit her, but like people describe her as like almost this being, she exposes all that in you.
Okay.
So I think if it's hard to say, like if I was now to do it, would I have that same experience? I don't know, but that was the experience I needed. And I wasn't aware of it when I was going through it. I was just in this like victim state of like, why am I feeling like this? And I just tried to problem solve it in the beginning, which didn't work. It wasn't until I surrendered to sort of the process that was there and realized what the lesson was that I was able to like fully come back, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, kind of my perception, my understanding is, I've heard two things. I don't remember who said it, but someone said that anyone who hasn't had a bad trip, hasn't gone deep enough. I don't remember exactly how they said it. And then on the other side, it seems like if you're in a good place emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you're more likely to be able to surrender and just and take the medicine and embrace whatever experience you're going to have.
Yeah, and I think the issue is people, like if you would have asked me back in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
are you in a good place? I would have said 100%. I had
Right.
a
It's like
career
you
that
don't
I
know.
loved,
Yeah.
a girlfriend that I loved. I had, I was making money for the first time. Like everything was there, but
Hmm.
I was running away from a lot of things that were in alignment. Like I now know looking back, like I was doing a lot of things just to do them for the surface versus what actually was important to me.
Okay.
So yeah, I can understand if you're in alignment, you won't have a bad trip. But I think what happens when you take these things is it shines. There will be something in you that needs to have a light shined on it,
Right.
and it will come out. So I think, yeah, like if you go really deep, eventually you're going to have some sort of not, I don't want to say bad trip, just difficult, just something that,
Difficulty because if you're willing to shine a light on the dark places, then you're going to have you're going to work through some shit.
Mhm.
It's kind of what's going to happen.
But see, this is why I love the breath work that I do is I don't want to say forever, but there would be a very slim chance I'm ever taking another psychedelic.
Okay.
And I want to get to that connected place. So this breath work was almost gifted to me in a way to do that. Like I experienced it and I was like, I tweaked it a bit from my teacher, but it gave me the ability to help people get to that state, but in a safe, controlled manner without taking a substance. And I think what happens there is then you earn the place you're in. So when you take these substances, to me, it's like I use a reference like in the gym. Like let's say you and I go to the gym together and you're benching 400 pounds with me spotting you and lifting the weight. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you benched it, but I was there to help you, just like
Right.
and now if I take my hands away, what happens? So sometimes I think people have a difficult trip because they think they're in the ability to lift 400 pounds. But then
Mm-hmm.
when the substance goes away, the 400 pounds is still there because now you've seen this. But
Mm-hmm.
now she or whoever's there is not helping you lift it again. Whereas if you slowly and have good practices get to that place, you've earned the right to be there.
Right.
So I think you can eventually get to the same truth. It just might be a little bit of a different path.
So let's talk about breath work.
Yeah.
So what I've done lots of breath work. I've gotten to that psychedelic place. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's out of this world. I mean, it's like, being a sober person and doing this breath work. I mean, you get high, literally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
On your
so
own supply.
yeah, I mean, getting
Yeah.
high on your own supply is amazing. We do breath work at our admin meetings. I do it in the morning. I do breath work every single day. So tell me about the breath work that you like to do.
I've been trained in a couple different ways. I studied Tantra for a while, which has its own set of breath work. I studied Qigong, which has its own set of breath work. So it depends when I'm working with someone where they're at. If someone really needs a technique, let's say like the microcosmic orbit, which is a Qigong technique, I'll have to teach them a different breath work. But my go-to standard is this one called elemental breath work,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know if you've ever experienced this Sachin's breath work, if he's done it at Genius.
I have not.
Okay, so him and I were taught by the same person. Actually, Sachin also
Okay.
helped put me onto this.
Okay.
What I love about it is it takes all the complications of like old school breathwork techniques and makes it really simple. So
Okay.
like if you're learning, like let's say if I'm learning the microcosmic orbit, it's like you're having to kegel and put your tongue to the roof of your mouth and breathe in through your belly and like imagine this energy going around you. And there's a lot of steps that like can distract you from what you're actually trying to do. With this breathwork, elemental breathwork, it's like you breathe, you do the earth breath, and then you do the water breath, and then you do the air breath, and then you do the fire breath, and you do that for a few rounds, and then everybody has an experience. I've done it for hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
I've yet had one person not have some sort of experience. They might not all hallucinate, but they'll have some sort of feeling in their body, or they'll work through something that was just sitting there under the surface, or a random memory will pop up that they could deal with. And I've never seen that with all the other breath works I've learned. This one just seems to distill it down into an easy, potent medicine that anyone can sort of start doing right away. There's no Like a lot of these other techniques, like the ancient techniques or the mystical techniques, they take a lot of time and energy to learn.
Mhm.
And this
How
one
long,
here, yeah.
how long or how quickly can you get through one of your sessions?
So it depends. Like I'll use breath work in different ways. I have another technique where I'll go in and help people clear charges that are holding them back. So for that, I'll do like 7 minutes of breath work just to get them in their body. And then it allows us to sort of access their body or a memory that's
Right.
haunting them in a way. But if you do like the full breakthrough experience with me, it's 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I've had the odd person push a little bit more, but most people, that's all you need is like you
Yeah.
do a little bit of a static dance in the beginning to get into your body. And then we do 5 rounds of the elemental work. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're looking 45 minutes to an hour in total.
Yeah, I typically do, my sessions are typically 10 to 20 minutes. I actually use an
Mhm.
app. It's called Othership. I don't know if you
Oh,
ever,
they're in Toronto. I just was there last week.
I love that app. It's,
Yep.
man, there's like 100 different breathwork sessions. And
Mhm.
I've found some sessions that are pretty awesome. And I'm able to get like to a really good place really quickly, depending on which session I choose. They have
Yeah.
upregulated, downregulated, they've got all kinds. I mean, I've done sessions that are half hour, an hour, and it's a great way for someone to do breath work without actually being facilitated by somebody.
Yeah, it's Othership. It's funny. I went to one of the owners' name is Rob Bent,
Okay.
and I went to his house like 4 years ago, and he built this like little shack
Okay.
outside. And he's
Okay.
like, "We're building this hot and cold experience thing." I'm like, "Oh, Banya. I love Banya. It's the same idea."
Okay.
He's like, "No, it's gonna be different." And then Othership came out, and like somehow you're all the way in Arizona. This is a thing in Toronto. I love what they've done because they've taken something, they've made it cool. Like when you go
Yeah.
to if you ever come to Toronto, you got to come with me there. They make like the whole experience like an actual experience. Like you go, you get guided.
Uh-huh.
There's like the music is perfectly picked out. Like it's one of the coolest experiences I've ever been on.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, I've done some guided sessions I've gone on a couple of retreats. I think the longest session I ever did was like an hour and a half.
it's hard, right?
I mean, I mean, it's like, how do you breathe that hard for that long? And when there's music and they've got instruments and they're guiding you and there's, 20 or 30 people in the room all going
Well,
for it.
that's why I love this elemental breath work is it's in waves.
Okay.
So like earth breath is like 4 seconds in through your nose and 4 seconds out through your mouth.
Okay.
Then you go into water, which is 2 and 2. Then air is 1 and 1, and then fire is as fast as you can. So what happens is
Yeah.
you
Okay.
build that intensity, and then we bring you back down into your body. You ground, so you can do the 45 minutes without it being. Because I've been to some of these breath works where you're like pushing for an hour, and you're like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
faint, and it's just like to the
Yeah.
brink. But for whatever reason, this technique of us just oscillating the energies gets you to the same place, and it's not as difficult. I've had anywhere from a 6-year-old do it to like an 85-year-old do it who's never done breath work before, and they were able to get through the experience pretty easy. And just bringing them back down and like taking the long deep breaths and settling back in their body, I think makes the difference, because I know what you're talking about, those really intense ones. I have a hard time doing them
Yeah.
where it's just
Yeah.
like nonstop.
People don't realize how important breathing is. I mean, let alone breath work. Breath work is so powerful, can be so powerful. Most people, and I learned this in 2016 when I decided I wanted to start doing triathlons. I remember
Hmm.
I was having trouble running. My IT band was killing me, and I went and saw a guy named Larry Arnold, and he watched me run. He said, okay, well, first thing is you're not breathing. And it's like, and so like I had to learn. He said he had me go take Pilates for like a month. He said go take Pilates for like a month
Did it help?
and learn how to breathe. You got
Yeah.
to open up your hips. You got and I realized, and I've listened to like James Nestor. I had Dan Brule on my show. I've talked with a lot of people about breathing and breath work, and I've learned a lot about it. And I realized now, because I pay attention to it, most people walk around with shallow breaths.
Hmm.
Most people aren't truly breathing, which contributes to anxiety, depression, all of the mental health issues, addiction, ADD, all of it.
Yeah. And you would actually, could I run you through something just to experience it? Would you be
Sure.
open? Okay. So I want to show you just 2 different breaths, and I
Okay.
want you to just tell everyone how you feel. So the first breath is our earth breath, okay?
Okay.
So we breathe in the nose 4 seconds and then out through the mouth 4 seconds. So if we'll close our eyes, because I want you to get like inward. So breathe in 4, 3, 2, 1, and then out through the mouth 4, 3, 2, 1. In through the nose 4, 3, 2, 1, and then out through the mouth 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's just do one more. In through the nose 4, 3, 2, 1, and then out through the mouth 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So let's open our eyes. How does that breath make you feel?
Calm.
Okay, perfect. So let's do water now. So water's in through the nose 1, 2, and then out through the mouth 1, 2. Okay, so ready? So in 1, 2, out, in, out. Good. In, out, in, out, in, out, and one more, in and out. How does that one make you feel?
A little more energized.
Okay. So which breath seemed longer in time?
The first one.
So in actual seconds, you breathe the exact same amount of time.
Okay.
But your perception, because every time I run, like, no, earth breath, I was there longer. It's like, no, you weren't.
Yeah, right.
But what you just prove, like, and this is why I make people experience it. So anyone watching it, like, go back and listen to it and do it. The breath literally changes your perception of time. Time isn't real. It's all a perception. So you can slow down time and speed it up all just with breath. And I use that where it's like, if we went to air breath, it would even seem faster. But just changing the cadence from 4 to 2, even though you did 6 rounds of water and 3 rounds of air, so it's the same thing. It just seems so much faster when you're doing that water breath. So if you're like not controlling your breath and you're panicked and you're breathing really quick, time's going really fast, it's going to just keep building this anxiousness.
Right.
Whereas if you calm it all down, take long, deep, deliberate breaths, time starts to slow down. You start gaining a little bit of space. You can respond versus reacting. Everything's a lot more comfortable. So whether you're like dealing in a, you're at work dealing with a stressful situation, you're in an argument with your partner, like you can use just those 2 breaths can change everything. So you can take yourself and just slow it all down, and then you become a more responsive person.
Right.
And it's really helpful for me for impulse control. So like I love eating Wendy's, let's just say. So now it's like I force myself most of the time. The odd time I'll make the exception, but to do like a couple earth breaths and be like, oh wait, actually I don't want this anymore. I was just, my fight or flight response because I was stressed was to go get junk food. Right. And then you slow down, you do this breath, and it's like, wait, actually I don't want it. I feel safe now. Now I'm good just to have like a steak and vegetables or whatever.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
You say that true happiness comes from the whole person.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
I view the whole person as mental, spiritual, physical. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us tend to look at, if I get my physical body in shape, then everything else will be fine. But having a really strong connection to our spirit, I think, is where the true happiness comes. And we can get there by having a healthy body, making sure our mind is healthy, and then working on the spirit. And then having those 3 in alignment, that's where true happiness comes from.
Yeah, and I think about exercise and fitness. I mean, I'm big into like exercise and working out, and a lot of times people think I'm just working out because for my physical fitness, and it's like,
you are pretty jacked.
That's just part of it, though.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, but it's like I want to be physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally fit. I mean, so I'm like addicted to this. Actually, I mean, I don't know. Am I addicted to it? I just want to feel good. I want to feel good emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's how I get centered. That's how I get to my flow state. That's when I come up with the best ideas. Like all of the things happen as a result of my self-care, and self-care includes physical fitness.
Well, what I found funny for myself, I laughed at this. I realized, do you know who Tom Platz is?
I don't.
Remember the bodybuilder? Look up one of his videos. So This guy's the most like, I think he's a priest or preacher or something now, but he was like third best in the world. He was known as the quad father. He had these massive legs. The
Uh-huh.
way he describes bodybuilding, again, added this idea that it's all an inner game. To him, it's a truly spiritual experience.
Okay.
So he's like, when I get under the squat bar represents life. It's going to smash you down and then I lift it back up.
Uh-huh.
So, you can treat anything as a whole body approach. So like when you're in the gym and you're having to push yourself through an uncomfortable period, or maybe you actually have to take it back because you're too, you've blown out and you push yourself too hard. Are you capable of reining it back in and recovering? Like it's all a fractal how you're treating everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're a pretty driven person like I am. I think it's harder for me to actually say, you know what, I've overworked. I need to take it easy today versus pushing to the limit.
Right.
Right. But then where else in your life are you not able to just rest and relax? Where else in your life are you always pushing to the limit? And then you can go down a spiritual journey of that and see it like pop up everywhere.
Well, it's kind of like what you do here is what you do here
Yeah.
is what you do here.
Yeah.
Like, how you do anything is how you do everything. It's like in every area of my life and every area of your life, we're doing like I am who I am, and I'm going to act. My behavior is going to be similar, whether it's exercise or work or eating or fitness or wellness or anything.
But that's why sometimes all you need is the awareness of what you just said. Like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Right.
Because when did you learn that in life? I know some people in their 40s who don't, oh no, I work really hard. I'm at work, and then I play hard. And then I'm like, yeah, so both things are hard. You don't just like flow into anything. And they're like, oh wait, you're right, actually. Because they viewed like work hard and play hard as two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right. So I just was thinking of something when you were talking about the bodybuilder. So I was watching that Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yeah.
and he talks about squatting, I don't know, 400 pounds or 500 pounds. And he's talking about the feeling and the high that he gets. He says it's better than an orgasm. He says it's better than coming. That's the words that came out.
Do you remember the video in Pumping Iron? He's like, I'm coming in the morning, I'm coming in the afternoon. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Okay, go watch.
That's basically what he said in this interview. Yeah.
Yeah. It's because it's so hard. You got to push through like when you achieve something that's difficult, the reward chemical that is there. That's how we're wired. We're wired to deal. That's the whole our part of the Hardy method is why I say you need resiliency in action.
Right.
So a lot of people will they'll go to these energy workers and they'll be like, yeah, law of attraction, write down my affirmations. But if you don't put the action and then have the resiliency to make sure that you can push through what you want to, you won't feel that reward. You won't get that release and that excitement.
Right. Which what follows that is the flow state.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to Stephen Kotler or in his book, The Art of the Impossible, and I've talked to him about it as well, flow follows focus. And I've experienced it as well. It's like if I'm working hard, pushing myself past my limits, once I get past the limits on the other side, that's when I get to my flow state. That's when I come up with my best ideas.
Yeah. And how many of us take the space to actually, like, that's funny. My last coaching call, this person I'm working with, she finally gifted herself 2 months off of work. And I'm like, what are you going to do? And she's like freaking out. Like she can't, she's stuck in doing. And I'm like, no, like, what can we do to get you into that flow state? Because you need almost the space in your life to allow yourself to get into that flow state. Like put yourself in the situation that would allow the flow state.
Yeah. Okay, we're coming up to the end of the interview. Is there a question that you wanted me to ask you today?
Just how my day's going.
How's your day going?
It's going pretty good, especially now that I'm on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. How can people find you, learn more about you, learn more about your program, learn more about your services?
So I have a pretty easy website. It's just my name, jordanbokser.com, BOKSER.com. And then I started an Instagram channel like maybe a month ago, all around my coaching. It's Hardy Method, HEARTY method. And I post random videos on there. And I just actually started I'm going to do monthly like online breath works for people who want to experience it. Yeah. So that if they come to my Instagram or they go to my website, they'll see the events that are going to be there.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. That does it for my time with Jordan Bokser. Jordan, thank you so much for your time today. I enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it. And thanks everyone for watching. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of I Love Being Sober.
If you found this video to be of value, be sure to like it, subscribe to our channel if you want to see more videos, leave a comment if you have a question, if you've got something to say. Camelback Recovery provides treatment services for people struggling with mental health, mental illness, addiction, alcoholism. So if you or someone you know is struggling, be sure to reach out to us. You can go to our website, camelbackrecovery.com, or our information is in the comments section below. And we provide everything from detox, inpatient, outpatient treatment, sober living, recovery coaching, sober companion services. So either we'll be able to help you or we'll be able to refer you to people or treatment centers that might be a better fit. So I will see you in the next video.